Hey, this is a This What's New to Me video. This is my Clousing 5914 12 by 36 lathe. The deal, I thought I got a good deal on it. It was 500 bucks. I'll be honest and actually tell you. Some people never talk about what things actually cost. When we went to get it and look at it, it wasn't powered up. So that's kind of sketchy. Anyways, I brought my neighbor. He's a retired machinist. He checked it out as good as he could. The waves were in good shape. There was no free play, no wear. You know, it was really dirty, but it was in really good shape. So he felt good about that. And then he kind of was smiling. He's like, hey, and it's single phase 220. So you don't have to go through, the VFDs or the phase converter or, all that situation. So that was good. But they said they tore it apart. So they had the side all apart because they had a noise. And, it's just a bearing. But it's still usable and you can use it. It's just, we were going to fix the bearing, so we tore it apart years ago and never did anything with it. And now they're moving to North Carolina or somewhere. So it wasn't powered up. They admitted to a noise. The side was tore apart. This is looking sketchy. This isn't typically that's beware, warning, warning. But the story checked out. They're a local company called Elmore Aviation. I drove by it 1,000 times, and I remember seeing cylinder heads, air-cooled cylinder heads from helicopter motors or airboats, and just always like, wow, what do they do there, Well, the family owned that, and this lathe wasn't in the shop, it was at the home shop, and he only used it to make bushings, and I think they polished crankshafts. They spun the crankshafts in here. And so he would just bring stuff home, and so it wasn't like it was being used 8 hours a day. So that's probably why it's not wore out. So the story checked out. And as my neighbor Bob's talking, he's like, hey man, you look so familiar. Well, turns out they used to go hunting together, 30 years ago. So these guys were good guys. Great, local family, good people. And this was their dad's lathe, and they remember, they took over the shop, and they remember, him using it and doing everything. So I kind of went for it, even though it was unpowered, and it had a noise, blah, blah, blah. So the test run reveals the lead screw is inoperable, inop. The VSC, variable speed control, is inop. So yeah, noise, speed control, and lead screw. So that's when the fear comes in. For me. Other people might not faze you. But I had an auto repair shop for years, and I had people coming in all day long. Oh, my air's not working, my tires are bald, it probably needs brakes, and my rack and pinion's leaking. And I'm like, that's over $3,000 worth of work. And your car's only worth $1,500 or $2,000. So I talk people out of things like this all the time. So here we go. Am I getting into this wasn't a wise thing to do? It's going to be very costly or very hard to fix. I'm going to have a real machinist, machine parts to fix my stuff so I can learn to machine parts. That's ironic, or that's funny. So fear of hard to find parts. Am I going to be looking on eBay for a year trying to find a particular gear in the gearbox? What am I getting into here? So did a good deal go bad? Those are my worries. Those are my concerns. So time to do some research. At my shop, I had Identifix and AllData. And when I had to close the big shop down and move into my small home shop, now all I got is YouTube. So you start with YouTube. So I did a YouTube search, and my fears were eased. And I want to put some thanks out there. Thanks to my neighbor Bob, Randy Richards in the shop. Thank you. Chris Lockbuilder. Thank you. AVE. He didn't actually do a lathe, but he did a grease gun check valve. He made a check valve for a grease gun that you could put to the slave cylinder and test the Reeves drive. That was cool. And Precision Machine Shed. These guys had good information that took my fear away. So all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is just a master cylinder. And oh, this is just a slave cylinder. I'm an ASC certified master mechanic. I can fix that. I've been fixing those all my life. That's doable. And then Bob comes over and is like, oh, it's just the lead screw. There's a shear pin. Oh. And then I found this grease fitting down here. There's a grease fitting back there. And that took care of the noise. So the smile returned to my face. After doing a YouTube search, getting a manual. Hey, once I can see it, I can fix it. Finding out you can get parts. I got parts from Clousing. I got a phone number from one of the YouTubers. He had it written down. He had the part numbers written down of the seals and everything. I called Clousing, my 45-year-old lathe. They had every part I asked for in stock, and it was $80. And this thing's up and running. I'm just waiting on a shear pin. They didn't ship the shear pins. So I have the ability to fix it. I can get parts. I don't need to lean on machinists and people to do me favors to, you know, Richard's in the shop, man. Randy, he had to rebuild that unit. Oh my gosh, and put new keyways in and do, whew, that's a lot of work. So thank goodness I don't have to do that. So here's the show and tell. Here's this lead screw situation. I can hold it with my hand. So the shear pin's gone. I don't recommend that. Don't do that. Not smart. So there's the test drive. I guess right now you say, she's alive. So I'll get it put back together and slid in place, and I'm looking forward to starting to learn some more on how to use it and what I can fix and what I can make. Take care. Thanks.